Since 1992, Genesis House has been helping real people heal from addiction on their private recovery campus in beautiful Palm Beach County, Florida. Their family-owned program is accredited by the Joint Commission and offers detox and dual diagnosis treatment in a comfortable and confidential setting. At Genesis House, they focus on treating the underlying causes of addiction. Their comprehensive approach includes psychiatric care, individual and small group therapy, trauma healing techniques, and holistic care including yoga, massage, and animal-assisted therapy. After treatment, their clients enjoy the lifelong support of a nationwide network of Genesis House alumni. Call Genesis House today at 1-800-737-0933 to speak with someone who understands. Visit them on the web at www.genesishouse.net. It's time to start your journey to a long and successful recovery.
Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is brought to you by the Friends in Recovery community, a thriving network of individuals who are fighting back against the stigma of addiction. Join our hosts as they speak up about the real issues of addiction, treatment, and recovery. Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, here are your friends in recovery.
So last time I was here on the 1st of January, we talked about step one, right? Admitting when we're powerless over alcohol, that it made our lives unmanageable. I hope during the course of the last month that you've been able to spend some time on that and continue to admit that you're powerless over alcohol and that your life is unmanageable. Because that's one of the things I do on a daily basis, right? So I was taught early on, for me, this is just my experience. This is just what I do. This is just suggestions. You have the ability to do whatever it is you want to do. But it was suggested to me that I ask a power greater than myself to relieve me of the obsession of alcohol and other things in the beginning of the day. Get on my knees in the morning, ask a power greater than myself to relieve me of the obsession of alcohol and any other substances, and to not hurt or harm other human beings, and to be the best Rich Lombardi I can be. And then I get up in the morning, and then I get, I say other prayers. Obviously now I have a routine that I do on a regular basis. And then obviously I say the third step prayer, but we're not on that yet. We're on the second step prayer. So, but it's a continual process. Like my relationship with my higher power has continued to grow since the beginning. Right. And I feel very fortunate. I was thinking about it this morning. When I came here in 1989 or early 88, and then getting sober in 89, when I came here, when I first was exposed to Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 steps of recovery, I saw the word God. And I saw it in the book a little bit, and I heard people talking about that and their relationship with a higher power, and that you didn't have to believe, and but you would come to believe eventually, right? And so here it says, right, step 2. Here we are, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. So when I first looked at that, I was kind of, I didn't have a lot of understanding of this, and so. Really, I didn't really focus on the power greater than myself. I really focused on sanity. Because at that particular time of my alcoholism, I was insane. I didn't even know I was insane, right? Because I was doing things I didn't want to be doing, right? I was hanging around with people that I didn't want to be hanging around with, right? I was in a lot of trouble. I had a lot of trouble with alcohol. I didn't know it was the alcohol, though. I didn't know I had alcoholism. Right? I just thought I had been given a bad lot in life. Now, one of my experiences in life, so I grew up in Boston, and I grew up in the parochial system, right? And so I went to parochial schools my whole life. I was an altar boy. Now, these are only my experiences, right? These are only the church of my beginning and what have you. So doesn't mean that you have to believe in this. Doesn't mean that because you haven't gone through this, you can't, do this. This has just been my experience. So as I grew up, I developed a relationship with a higher power, right? Because that was part of the process of my life, right? My family life, right? And so I went to parochial schools. I became an altar boy. I went to the boys club, right? Later on, as I got a little older, I was fortunate enough, my parents sent me to parochial camp in the summertime. And I got a lot of wonderful experiences from that. I know that some people have had bad experiences with that or what have you. I'm not here to talk about that, but I'm here to talk about my experiences with that. And I had a lot of wonderful experiences with that. Right. And I said my prayers in the morning, and I, they're kind of scary prayers, right? Like, I don't know if if you say the Hail Mary, right? It's like before the hour of our death, amen. Right. I'm like, holy cow, what am I going to die tonight? Right. But I would say them, right. And I would get comfort from them, and I would get comfort from church and that type of stuff. And so anyway, that kind of went on. And when I was 15 years old, really, I started experimenting with alcohol. On the weekends, my friends started drinking, right? I played athletics in high school, and I went to high school. I drank prior to high school. I mean, when I was a little kid, right? I'm Italian, right? We grew up in an Italian home, and on Sundays, or sometimes I'd go to my grandparents, and my grandmother would say, "Give Rich a little wine and he'll be fine." And I don't know if you know about homemade Italian wine, but it's like 100 proof. Right. And so I didn't know I was getting a little buzz or whatever. Right. But I had tasted wine and what have you, and little sips of my grandfather's beers and stuff of that nature. But the obsession for alcohol slowly but surely, subtly started to infiltrate my mind. Right. I didn't even know that then. Right. But I know it now when I look back. Right. Because subtly, all of a sudden in my mind, I started thinking, I can't wait to do this. Right. I used to see them, they would drink, and then they would change. Right. They would change. Some would get happy, some would get sad, some would get angry. Right. But I would see things. Right. And all of a sudden now I'm thinking, man, I can't wait to do that. Right. I can't wait to be like the adults. Right. And so eventually I picked up a drink at 15. And I really believe that's when the obsession picked up, because I made my first conscious decision to drink. Prior to that, I had never made a conscious decision. It just happened. And now all of a sudden I made this conscious decision, right? Conscious decision to drink. And I really believe that's when the disease of alcoholism began to affect me, right? The disease of alcoholism, right? Because at that particular time in my life, I was restless, I was irritable, I was discontent. I was going through a lot of things, right? I was going to high school. I was going through puberty. A lot of stuff was happening in my life. And so I had a lot of confusion in my mind. And when I drank, that would quiet that, And so now here I am, I'm drinking for the effect, right? I don't even know I'm drinking for the effect, right? I don't even know that I'm obsessing over alcohol, but I'm doing it now, right? And it's quieting that effect. And, what happened for me was, up to that point, I had a pretty good life. I mean, I had my ups and downs. My parents, I was an only child from a very young. My parents were very, very young when they had me, and so what happened was, I came home on a Sunday afternoon, and I found my father dead on the couch. And I can tell you that my life was never the same after that, right? Because what did I do? I blamed God. That's what I did, right? I can remember going on my back porch in East Boston where I live, and I can remember saying to myself, God, how can you do this to me? Like God would do it particularly to me, right? Not thinking about anyone else. Now, think how selfish and self-centered that is, right? Because he's doing it to me, right? And I was very selfish and very, very self-centered, even before I picked up a drink. Right? Because I was an only child, I was spoiled, right? I always got what I wanted to get. I knew how to manipulate very early on in my life, right? And so, I could do those type of things. And I remember blaming God. And then from that day forward, until I came into recovery 15 years later, I stopped doing, I guess I stopped doing, I don't know if I ever stopped doing business with God, but the relationship I had with God changed. It changed, right? Some days it was good and some days it was bad. I blamed God for taking my father from me. Now, God didn't take my father from me. My father died, right, of unnatural causes, but he died, right? And so Now, all of a sudden, I have to stop making my own decisions. And I made a decision that day to stop doing business with God, right? Because I blame God. Just like I make a decision now, right? Eventually, I come to step 3. Then I make a decision to turn my life and my will back to the care of God. But we're not there yet. See, I'm not there yet. Now I'm going about my life. And really, I'm going about my life in self-will run riot, right? I'm just doing whatever I want to do, whenever I want to do it. And if I run people over, if I get hurt or other people get hurt, it doesn't matter to me, right? And some people would call that psychopath, right? But, slowly but surely. So what am I doing? I'm going insane. Right? This disease is so subtle. It's such a foe that I don't even know I'm going insane, right? But slowly but surely, I'm going insane. And I can't even see it. I begin to justify it in my mind, right? And in my outside world, people would ask me and I would justify my right to drink. Oh, my dad died. If you grew up like I did, if you lived where I lived, if you, this, that, and the other thing, you would do what I do. Not saying, well, I'm an alcoholic or, I should stop drinking or I should stop doing other things, right? Because it wasn't that, right? It wasn't that. And God, I believe, had dealt me a bad hand, right? I guess I was one of those guys, one of those kids, one of those guys that dealt a bad hand. And this is just the way it was going to be. This was my lot in life, right? This is what I began to believe, right? And what I know today is not true. It's not true, right? And so, then, by the grace of God, in 1988, I get arrested, right? I get arrested. The DEA, state police, the local police, they batter ram every door down to my house. They put a gun to my head and they tell me it's over. And at that particular time, I began to pray. And I was praying for my higher power, my God of my understanding, to either take me out or for something to happen. Oh, the other thing that happened too, I got kind of ahead of myself, but the other thing that happened was during the course of my alcoholism, I would pray. I would ask God to bring me a package, get the rent, those type of things, right? I was praying for all the wrong reasons. I was praying for selfish and self-centered reasons. I wasn't praying for other people. I wasn't praying for their well-being. I wasn't doing any of that. I was praying for rich, right? And I was praying for rich's needs to be met. And so at this particular time in my alcoholism, I began to pray to die. I had come to a place in my drinking and in my life where that dying seemed like a good idea, right? That if I had died, everyone else would be better off. Everyone else would be better off. They wouldn't have to worry about me. They wouldn't have to deal with me, right? And they'd be better off and I'd be better off, right? I came to a hopeless state of mind, a hopeless state of being, right? When I came here, I was beyond human aid. Because up to that point, I had asked for help during the course of that. Some of it, guilt, shame, remorse. I had all that daily, regularly. I had guilt, I had shame, I had remorse, right? I didn't know what to do with any of that, right? I would drink it off, I would fluff it off, and then it would return, right? It continues to return. The progression of the disease, right? The progression of the disease gets worse and worse and worse. And then eventually, I don't even care about the guilt, shame, and remorse anymore, right? It's just about drinking. It's just about getting my needs met, right? Whatever that might be. And at this particular point, I had started to pray to die. And I really believe God answered my prayer. 3 days before Christmas in 1988, the DEA, the state police, the local police batter-rammed every door down to my house. The other prayer that I used to say prior to going to sleep or passing out, I wouldn't say I went to sleep, I would say that I passed out, was that at this particular time in my life, I used to wake up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and I would have a little hair of the dog. At 9 o'clock at night, I would have lunch. And at midnight, I would drink, and then it would be whatever until the sun came up again. And then I would go home, or I would pass out somewhere or wherever, depending on where I was. I would go home, the sun would be coming up, people would be driving to work, people would be living normal lives. I would see them, and in the back of my mind, I would say, how do these people do this? Why can't I be like other folks? Why can't I be like regular folks? I wanted all the stuff of life. I wanted the, the white picket fence, the Labrador retriever, the wife and the 2.5 kids, whatever, the 2 kids. I wanted all that. I wanted the good, excellent job. I wanted all that stuff. But I couldn't even equate the fact that 2 and 2 went to 4, and that the fact that I wasn't getting of those things was because I was drinking all the time, right? I was an alcoholic. I didn't even know it. Right. And I would ask myself, because I watched other people who I drank with were becoming successful. And I couldn't understand. And what I've come to find out is that the reason I can't understand is because I have this spiritual malady. I have this hole, right? I have this disconnect. Right? They talk about it, right? My sponsor talks about it all the time. Chuck C talks about it all the time, right? I'm disconnected from these other people. I can't make relationships. I for some reason, it also talks about it in the big book, right? The mental twist of an alcoholic. I believe that it's like a short circuit, right? Every time I'm ready just to cross the threshold into goodness and into life, I get that switch. I get that mental twist of the alcoholic, right? I celebrate, right? And then next thing you know, I'm gone. I get the good job. I get the relationship. I get a place to live. All those type of things that life has to offer. I get them, right? I work to get them, and then all of a sudden I have that mental twist. And the next thing you know, I drink, and then slowly but surely I lose all those things. Right? They begin to be taken away, right? Or not taken away, given away, right? Given away. So anyway, I get arrested, and it was strongly suggested by my probation officer that I better do something about my life. I was looking at a lot of time in prison, and so you better take a look at your life and take a look at where you're at and what you're doing. And I think you're an alcoholic. And he said, I think you should go into treatment. Matter of fact, he didn't say I should. He said, you have to, because you owe us 2 weeks in treatment for a second DUI. Massachusetts, back then, you got your first OUI, you lost your license for 30 days, you had to go to classes. They taught, I thought they were teaching me how to drink and drive, you know what I'm saying? And then the only thing I remember from that first issue, DUI, was the counselor said to me, Rich, if you continue to do what you're doing, you will get arrested for your second DUI. And in the back of my mind, still not equating alcoholism and drinking to my problems, right? And to my life, not me. That's never going to happen to me. And I can tell you, 2 years to the day, roughly, I got arrested for my second DUI. And the only thing I could remember was that woman saying, if you continue to do what you do, you will get arrested again. And I got arrested again. And so now, here I am, facing jail time, in a lot of trouble, right? Praying to die, asking my higher power to take me out. And like I said, I really believe my higher power intervened and saved me from myself. And so I got arrested. My probation officer, said, you're going to have to go into treatment. And I did that on January 1st of 1989. And I'll be forever grateful, because when I got there, they provided counseling. They provided, it was a 12-step recovery place. Back then, there was a lot of those, and they emphasized, sobriety and recovery. They had meetings come in there every night. And a couple of days later, I really believe God answered my prayer, because what happened was a gentleman came in from Quincy, and he shared his experience, strength, and hope with us. And I was sitting in the audience, obviously, and in a lot of trouble, and life was not going my way. And he started to share his experience, strength, and hope. And the light went on. I believe I was honest enough and open enough and willing enough, right? I didn't know what any of those things were, but I was in a lot of trouble, right? And this dude opened my mind. He grew up like I did. He went to schools like I did. He drank like I did. He robbed, he stole, he cheated. He had been to jail, all those type of things, and he was doing well. He was smiling, he was happy. And that night he made the suggestion, the first suggestion I ever took, that I had taken in a long time since I started drinking, right since my dad died. He said, I've stopped drinking, he said, and I've asked for the obsession to be removed. He said, so he said, a bunch of things. And then I went up to him after the meeting, and he had been clean and sober for 5 years. He hadn't drank, he hadn't done anything in 5 years. And to me, that was like a miracle, right? I didn't know anybody who stopped drinking for a minute, right? Meanwhile, myself, I tried so many times during the course of my life. It's funny. I tried so many times in the course of my life to stop drinking and stay out of trouble, right? And to get my life together, right? And somehow, some way, how I didn't remember, or how I didn't know, or how dark it was in my life, I wasn't asking my higher power for help. That's for sure, right? I was trying to do it on my own. Right? And the more I tried to do this type of stuff on my own, the worse my life got. Like I have found in my recovery and in my life, when I run the show and I try to make my life happen, it doesn't end up well. Right? I end up, even in recovery too, I made a lot of bad decisions in recovery too, right? And I've had to reevaluate and re-ask for help and really, because sometimes I want to drive the bus, right? I want to drive the bus. I want to drive the car. I want to be in charge, right? And anytime I do that, unfortunately, I end up in a situation, and this thing's powerful. It really is, And so anyway, I went up to him after the meeting. I shook his hand. I thanked him for coming, and I said, how have you stayed sober for 5 years? And he said to me, I'll make a suggestion. He says, I suggest when you go upstairs, you get on your knees, you ask a power greater than yourself to relieve you of the obsession of alcohol and drugs. And if you're successful, you thank that higher power at the end of the night. And that's all he said. And he left. And I'm like, it can't be that easy. It just can't. I mean, I've been trying to do this. I've been trying to quit drinking my whole life. Anyway, I went upstairs and I was in a locked ward. And, my belief is if you've ever been in a locked ward, you're probably an alcoholic. Because regular folks don't end up in locked wards. I've come to find out, right? And I was sitting on my bunk. I was in a room with about 20 other guys. And I don't know, the spirit just came over me, right? And I just started to think, right? And I'm like, just take the suggestion, Rich. Just do it, man. Just do it, man. What do you got to lose? This is like, you got nothing to lose. And this guy's got a good life now. And you're like going to jail, right? This is the conversation I'm having with myself in the back of my mind, right? And then all of a sudden I'm thinking, yeah, I've always believed in God. I've always, trusted and relied on God. I haven't used him in a long time. I haven't talked to him in a long time. I haven't made connections with my higher power. I haven't built up this relationship, right? Like I did prior. Anyway, I got on my knees in that room and I asked a power greater than myself, my God of my understanding, to relieve me of the obsession of alcohol and drugs and other things. And if I was successful, I would thank that higher power. And that night and then the following day. And I would do this on a regular basis. And that's really where I came to believe in a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. Because at that particular time of my life, I was very insane, right? I was very insane. And it also helped me with admission of powerlessness and that my life was unmanageable, right? Because a couple of days prior to that, I'm going to AA and I'm hearing about, powerlessness, and I'm hearing about, unmanageability. And then all of a sudden now I'm hearing about insanity, right? Connecting all these things together, right? Because certainly at that time I was powerless over alcohol. That was the truth, right? There's the honesty, right? The honesty is I'm powerless over alcohol. It's making my life unmanageable. Now all of a sudden the light comes on and I'm saying, wait a second. My life is unmanageable because I'm an alcoholic and because I drink all the time. And I can't stop drinking. No wonder I have no money. No wonder I have nothing. No wonder I can't do what I need to do because I'm drunk all the time, right? And now it says to me, I'm insane, right? Well, it doesn't say insane, but it comes to my mind like I'm insane, and I don't even know I'm insane. And that in order to do this, I'm going to have to come to believe in a power greater than myself can restore me to sanity. And so by getting on my knees and doing that, I really believe, like, once again, this is a process. This takes time. It's for me, I feel blessed because I didn't have an issue with God. Some people do, right? They talk about the belligerent one in step 2, right? In the 12 and 12. Then they talk about the people who've had faith but lost faith, right? Like I might have been one of those, right? Or people who have had no faith at all, which they say is probably the best way because now you have a total open mind. So here I am. I get honest about my alcoholism, and now I open my mind to the belief in a power greater than myself once again. I open my mind back to the God of my understanding. I begin to ask this higher power for help, right? Even though I don't know that. And it says here, the moment they reach step 2, right? Now we're going to get into reading it, right? Most AA newcomers are confronted with a dilemma. This is on step 2, 12 and 12. Sometimes a serious one. How often have we heard them cry out, look what you people have done to us. You have convinced us that we're alcoholics and that our lives are unmanageable. So there's step 1. Right? Then, having reduced us to a state of absolute helplessness, you now declare that none, these are important words here, none but a higher power can remove our obsession. Oh my God. Get on my knees, ask a power greater than myself to remove the obsession of alcohol and drugs, right? And I'll be successful, he says, right? Some of us won't believe in God, others can't. And still others who do believe that God exists have no faith whatever he will perform this miracle. Now, there's many reasons I didn't believe that my God would do this miracle for me, right? Right? There was many reasons. I had a lot of reasons, right? Like I told you, this is my lot in life. This is the way it's going to be, right? Yes, you've got us over a barrel, all right, but where do we go from here? And then it talks about the belligerent one, right? Right? About how he doesn't want to open his mind at all, and he just wants to fight and debate, and, just the way it is, right? And then it says here, this is the beginning of the end. This is on the next page. This is the beginning of the end, and so it is the beginning of the end of his old life. And the beginning of the emergence into a new one. I didn't know that. I didn't know by taking that suggestion, I was beginning the process of getting rid of my old life. And now I'm going to get a new life in recovery, a new life in sobriety, a new sense of being, a new sense of hope, some faith. Now, believe me, when I started this out, I didn't understand any of this. I didn't know any of this. But over time, as I continue to practice this and apply it to my life, these are the things that have happened to me. And they can happen for you. Why do I know that? Because I've practiced them. It's happened to me. And if it can happen to me, it can happen to you. Just like sobriety, just like recovery. Right? I believe God works through people. And I believe when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. And I believe my teacher appeared that day. That's what I believe now. Now, I didn't believe that then. I didn't understand that then. But as I practice and as I go along and as I apply these things to my life, and as my mind opens more and more, and I become more and more honest, I become more and more open-minded, and I become more and more willing to do it, it becomes clearer. It's become clearer to me. It's become clearer. And I continue to have more and more clarity. Now, it doesn't mean the fog doesn't come, right? Eddie lives by the ocean, right? One day it's sunny and beautiful, right? And you're out there and you're like, wow, it's awesome here, right? And then all of a sudden, I don't know, a little front comes in, and all of a sudden the fog comes in and you can't really see, right? And now they got bells to help you find where you're going, all kinds of things, right? Life is like that too, I believe, right? Sometimes the fog rolls in. It's not going to be all hunky-dory. See, I thought life was either supposed to be good or bad. There was no fog in the middle. There was no gray, right? I was either gonna do it or I wasn't gonna do it. I was like all or nothing. And what this has showed me, and what the program has showed me, is that everything is not all and everything is not all nothing, right? And if I'm beginning to grow in spirituality, and I'm beginning to take care of this malady, and I'm beginning to believe in a higher power greater than myself, and I'm trusting and relying, now I'm learning how to trust and rely on a power greater than myself. My faith continues to grow, and now I begin to believe that everything is going to be all right. How do I see this? I'm not drinking, right? 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days. Right? All of a sudden, you're like, holy cow, I'm doing this on a daily basis. I'm thanking this higher power at the end of the day. All of a sudden, I get a little job. I get a little better job. I begin to rekindle my relationships. Just through a little process, just through the beginning. Right? I'm gaining some more faith. I'm like, holy cow, maybe this really does work. And of course, I'm going to meetings. Right? I'm asking for help. I got a sponsor, right? In the beginning, a temporary sponsor, right? I got a sponsor. I got someone to help me with this, to show me, right? So if we're in this room and we don't have a sponsor, there's going to be a lot of fog. Because that's what I have found throughout my recovery, right? When I'm with a sponsor or without a sponsor or not using my sponsor, right? The fog comes in. Like I just called my sponsor a couple of weeks ago, right? I hadn't talked to him in a while. He travels all over the place. He speaks everywhere, right? And so I feel as though, I don't need to talk to him. You know what I mean? I'm okay, whatever. And all of a sudden the fog starts rolling in, right? And then I'm like, I better give him a call, right? And so, of course, I call him and I tell him the fog's rolling in. He says, how come you haven't called me? And I say, this, that, and the other thing. He says, well, how's that working out for you? Right? And then I say, the fog's coming. I need help, even if it's just the conversation, even if it's not about anything specific. It's just the fact, right? Just the fact. And it's the same thing with my guys, right? The same thing with my guys when they call me, right? Their fog's rolling in. Sometimes they get, life is life, right? They get into life, right? And this disease is cunning, baffling. It's insidious, right? It's powerful. It comes in all different types of forms. Right? It just waits. It's like a subtle foe, it says in the big book, right? It's a subtle foe. It just waits. It could come in a relationship. It could come in a job. It could come in money. It could come in anything, right? And so I gotta be, what's the word I want to use? I gotta be intuitive. I gotta intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle me. And how does that work? Through a spiritual connection for me, right? Predicated upon my spiritual condition. That's how I stay coming to believe. My relationship has changed since the beginning of my recovery to today with my higher power, with my relationship with that higher power, with my belief in that higher power. I've come to believe. I believe the program is set up for me to come to believe in a power greater than myself if I don't know one, right? Or if I'm questioning them. And it tells me in step 2 also, it's going to be a lot easier for me if I start the debate, right? And I just, let me see, I'm going to try to find that real quick here. I had it written down, right? I had to get away from I had to get away from that, right? The other thing it tells me in here, right? Intellectually self-sufficient man or woman, right? I think I can get over this on my own brain power, on my own knowledge. And it tells me here, knowledge was all powerful. Intellect could conquer nature, right? That's what my mind tells me. But that's a lie for an alcoholic like me. That's a lie, right? Those ideas had to be smashed. I had to open my mind. I had to stop the debate. I had to go along. I had to stop fighting. And then all of a sudden, my negative thinking starts to go to positive thinking, right? It says that on page 30, right? If I'm practicing this and I'm asking for help and I'm trusting, relying upon a higher power, right? It says, we gloated over hypocrisy, bigotry, and crushing self-righteousness that clung to us, so many believers, even on the Sunday best. How we love to shout damaging fact that millions of good men of religion were still killing one another off in the name of God. This all meant, of course, that we had substituted negative for positive thinking. After we came to AA, we had to recognize that this trait had been an ego-feeding proposition, right? In belaboring the sins of some religious people, we could feel superior to them all. Moreover, we could avoid looking at some of our own shortcomings and self-righteousness, right? If I could point the finger at other people, right, and look at their inadequacies and their things, then I'm just going to feel better about myself. That was me, right? That was me. The very thing that had continuously condemned in others, we are our own besetting evil, right? I'm pointing the finger at other people, but I'm not looking at myself. Generally, when I don't like other people and I don't like what's going on in my life, it has to do with me, not them, right? I've come to learn that, right? It's someone else. If I have issues now, it's not other people, it's me. It's my actions, it's what am I doing? Am I not doing enough? I like this in on page 31 down at the bottom there. It says here, this is during my drinking, right? At no time had we asked what God's will was for us. Instead, we had been telling him what it ought to be, right? That was me, right? God, just do this for me, blah, 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 right? I'll do this, whatever, right? I'm making bargains, right? No man we saw could believe in God and defy him. 2, belief meant reliance, not defiance, right? So stop the debate, stop the arguing, stop the thing. Now, belief, reliance. Let me start relying upon it, not defy it, right? Let me just rely upon it, right? And then it says in AA, we saw the fruits of this belief. Men and women spared from alcohol's final catastrophe. As I come to believe in a power greater than myself can restore me to sanity, I become a little more insane every day, becomes a little more clear every day, right? And then we get ready to move on, right? We're going to get ready to move on because now we're getting towards the end, right? Talks a little bit about quality of faith, right? Faith without what? Works is dead, right? I can have all the faith in the world, right? That the program's going to work, NA's going to work, recovery's going to work, right? I'm going to be all right. But that don't get it done, right? Because faith without works is dead, right? I got to go out. This is an action program. I got to apply this. I got to get out there. I got to be sharing this experience, strength, and hope with other people, right? I got to be, come the teacher for the next student who appears. Just like that teacher appeared for me, then I was the student, and now I can become the teacher. And then I'll be ready for the next student, right? As long as I keep up the work. And then last, just kind of, I know I'm running a little late here. We'll give a few minutes, but it says here on the last page of step 2, sanity is defined as soundness of mind. Yet no alcoholic soberly analyzing his destructive behavior, whether destruction fell on the dining room furniture, on his moral fiber, can claim soundness of mind for himself. Without a higher power, I begin to go back insane. That's been my experience. Excuse me. It continues to be my experience. If I'm not working on my spiritual condition, right? And then last but not least, true humility and an open mind can lead us to faith. That's what it says at the end, right? True humility. When I get on my knees in the morning and I ask a power greater than myself to relieve me of this session of alcohol and drugs, what am I doing? I'm humbling myself before my higher power. It teaches me humility, right? To something that I can't see, that I'm not sure, right? And that leads me to the faith. And then every AA meeting is an assurance, right? Because you go, why do I go to AA? To see what happens to people who don't go to AA, and people who do go to AA, or people who go to NA and don't go to NA, or people who stay sober and don't stay sober, right? I need to see that on the regular. That's how I believe God works through people. I got to see it, right? To continue to believe it. Because I'm the type of guy, I'll get skeptical, right? And then God will restore us to sanity if we rightly relate ourselves to him. Soundness of mind. Grace is restored, right? Balance. And then we're going to make a decision. I haven't quite made the decision yet, right? But as we get to the end of this and we see it happening and working in others, right? All of a sudden, now we're going to be asked to make a decision in step 3. So we made it. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol and our lives are unmanageable. Now we begin the process of coming to believe in a power greater than ourselves can restore us to sanity. And now we're ready to move. But I got to be able to admit and say these first 2 things first. If I can't say these things outwardly, whether I believe them or not, it's very difficult to move on. That's always been my experience. If I can't like verbally say it, just like when I was in a meeting, right? The first time I ever said I'm an alcoholic, right? Once I said that, right, I was able to move. I was able to move. And then once I was able to admit that I was powerless over alcohol, I was able to move. Once I said my life was unmanageable, I began to move. Once I said this, coming to believe in a power greater than myself. Okay, I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do. I began to move. And then I get ready for the next. And I'm prepared. I got people in my life. I'm working with others, right? I see what's happening. It's becoming clearer. I'm getting a little more balance in my life. Even though I got a lot of shit going on. When I first got sober, I had a lot of stuff going on. I was looking at jail. You know, I was like everybody else, right? Homeless, hopeless, you know, jail, you know, no family relationship, you know, like, you know, the benefits of alcohol, right? Nothing, right? Zero. That's the benefits of alcohol for me. But slowly but surely, little by little, I began to gain the benefits of recovery, begin to regain power, right? Not God, not being God, but from God. Where do I get my power? I get my power to stay away from alcohol from God. That's where I get it. So I hope you continue the process. I hope you continue to, you know, work on a daily basis. I continue to practice, you know, and I'll do the same. And I believe if I do this, the goal is just to be sober today. And if I do that today and I wrap it up today and I stay sober today, I've been a rip-roaring success. I've done it 100% right, you know. And then I start again over tomorrow, you know, and practice again. So appreciate you guys having me. I appreciate seeing you all. And once again, Happy New Year. And I wish you all the best.
This concludes this episode of Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast. Follow us on Facebook for past shows and updates, and enjoy free access to twice daily support meetings. Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.